Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. Emily, what are you standing there for? Daydreaming again. Hurry up and pack your things. You're coming back home with me, Jason Lee said. He was wearing a brand new military uniform, a steel pen neatly tucked into his breast pocket, and his leather shoes shone so brightly they almost reflected my face. A hint of impatience flickered between his brows as he slapped a large red sheet of paper onto the table. Look, he said. I've already asked someone to get our marriage certificate done. My leave from the army has been approved. All that's left is for you to come home with me and pay respects to my parents. My mom's eyesight isn't good, and my dad's been ill for years. The family can't manage without someone there. I looked down at that crudely printed marriage certificate, the names even slightly crooked. Nausea surged up from my stomach. In my previous life, it was this very fake certificate that had deceived me into returning to that poor remote mountain village and opened the door to a 10-year nightmare. Jason Lee was my fiancé. He had only managed to gain a stable footing in the army thanks to my financial support. He used to tell me that once he got promoted, he would marry me with great honor, making me the envy of all as a proud military wife. I believed him. I emptied out my tiny factory worker salary, lived frugally, and sent him my allowances and ration coupons. He wore the synthetic shirts I bought, ate the egg cakes I mailed, and looked neat and respectable at the base. Eventually, he was promoted and became a platoon leader. But what he brought back wasn't a grand wedding procession. It was that fake marriage certificate in his cold, arrogant face. My parents worked hard to raise me, Jason said sternly. It's only right that as their daughter-in-law, you take care of them. The army has rules. Military spouses can't be unemployed. So, for now, you won't come live with me. Quit your job and go back to the village first. We'll talk about the rest later. In my past life, I was completely blinded by the allure of becoming a military wife and trapped by his words about filial piety. I actually believed him. I thought it was only temporary, a small test before I officially became his wife. So, I quit my stable, enviable job at the textile factory and followed him back to his hometown. What awaited me was his mean, sharp-tongued mother, half-blind but more calculating than anyone, and his bad-tempered, bedridden father, who threw things whenever he got angry. I became the Lee's unpaid maid. Every morning before dawn, I had to get up to cook for the entire family, wash piles of never-ending dirty clothes, work in the fields during the day, and at night take care of his paralyzed father, feeding him and cleaning up after him. My hands turned rough, my skin darkened, and I quickly grew haggard. Jason Lee, of course, took everything for granted. He only came home once a year on short family leave, and even then, he ordered me around, complaining that I had become a worn-out, yellow-faced woman. 2 years later, he brought home a woman named Grace, saying she was his cousin and had come to help with the household. Grace was pale, delicate, and soft-spoken. From the moment she arrived, she took over all my chores, spending her days dressing up beautifully and clinging to Jason's side. My blind mother-in-law adored her, praising her endlessly, saying she was what a real city girl should be like. I foolishly thought Grace had come to help me and even felt grateful to her until one night while I was carrying a pot of water, I overheard laughter coming from Jason's room. Jason and Grace giggled softly. When are you going to tell that country bumpkin the truth? The name on the marriage certificate is mine. I'm your real wife. Why should she still be living here? Shua. Keep your voice down, Jason whispered. She's still useful. Who else would take care of my parents if she left? In a couple of years, I'll find an excuse to throw her out. That marriage certificate is fake anyway. He ended up with nothing in the end. In that moment, every drop of blood in my body froze. So Grace wasn't his cousin at all. She was his first love. Before we'd even gone back to the village, the two of them had already registered their real marriage in the county. I, Emily Lee, had been nothing but a pathetic fool from start to finish. A woman used and discarded, a laughable idiot. I was nothing more than a free maid serving his entire family so that he and his new bride could live their happy life together. I completely lost control and stormed into the room, only for Jason Lee to slap me across the face so hard that I fell to the floor. You were eavesdropping on us, he yelled, his face twisted with rage. The fake gentleness he usually wore was gone without a trace. My mother-in-law came rushing in when she heard the commotion. Without even asking what had happened, she started cursing me, calling me a barren hen who brought bad luck and chaos into their home. Grace hid behind Jason, pretending to be pitiful, looking at me as though I were the villain trying to break them apart. From that day on, I was completely isolated. I wasn't allowed to sit at the table for meals. At night, they forced me to sleep in the cold, damp storage room. Eventually, I fell ill with a high fever that wouldn't break. As I drifted in and out of consciousness, I heard my mother-in-law say, "That cursed woman is finally dying. Good riddance. Less bad luck around here. But once she's gone, who's going to take care of us?" Jason's impatient voice followed. "Enough, Mom. If she dies, I'll just find another one. There are plenty of stupid city girls who dream of becoming army wives." The hatred that consumed me in that moment was boundless. I swore that if I ever had another life, I would make that pair of shameless lovers and their vile family pay with blood for what they'd done. And somehow I really was reborn. Back to the very day Jason Lee stood before me with that fake marriage certificate, demanding that I quit my job and return to the village. Emily Lee, are you even listening to me?" Jason's impatient voice snapped me out of my thoughts. I lifted my head, forcing down the waves of hatred in my chest. My lips curved into a cold smile. "Jason Lee, you said this is our marriage certificate, right?" I picked up the flimsy red paper, my fingers tightening until it nearly crumpled. "Of course," he said proudly. "Look, it even has the army seal on it." He looked smug, as though he just bestowed a great favor on me. "Is that so?" I let out a faint, cold laugh and slowly reached into my small cloth bag. From it, I pulled out another piece of paper, thin, slightly yellowed, but carefully preserved. The red print on it was clear, and the embossed seal was sharp and genuine. It was the real marriage certificate I had stolen from under Grace's pillow in my previous life, their actual marriage license. I'd been clutching it tightly in my hand even when I died. I never imagined it would come back with me to this life. With a sharp slap, I threw the real certificate down next to the fake one. "Jason Lee and Grace," I said coldly. "What a perfect match." I pronounced every word clearly, then looked up to meet Jason's face as it turned deathly pale. "So," I said evenly, "can you explain to me what this is?" My voice wasn't loud, but it struck him like a thunderclap. He stared at the real marriage certificate, his eyes wide as saucers, his lips trembling, unable to speak. "Where did you get that?" he finally stammered, his voice dry and rasping like sandpaper. I crossed my arms and looked at him with icy contempt. "You don't need to worry about that," I said. "Just answer me this. Since you and Grace are legally married, why should I quit my job and go back to your village to be your family's free servant? Shouldn't your lawfully wedded wife, Grace, be the one taking care of your blind mother and paralyzed father? Go take care of them yourself. I've lived this life once. I'm not losing my mind this time. Whoever wants to clean up your mess can go ahead. Don't think you can play me for a fool again." Jason Lee's face flushed from red to white in waves. The scene was almost theatrical. He probably never dreamed his perfect plan would be so easily pierced. He panicked. "Emily, listen. Let me explain. There's been a misunderstanding." He stepped forward as if to grab my hand. I jerked back and avoided his filthy touch, letting my disgust show plainly in my eyes. "Which is it? A misunderstanding that the marriage certificate is fake, or that your father didn't embezzle, and your mother isn't blind?" I pressed him step by step. "Don't forget who you are. You're a soldier. Don't I have to remind you what happens to someone who commits bigamy?" The word soldier was like a blade that struck his soft spot. His uniform and identity were everything to him. For promotion, he had abandoned a country first love to latch on to me. To protect his future, he'd do anything. Panic hardened into menace in his eyes. "Emily, how dare you threaten me?" he snarled, lowering his voice and grinding his teeth. "Don't forget how long we've been. Everyone in the neighborhood knows you're my fiancé. Now I'm going to marry someone else. What do you think they'll say? You'll be the woman left behind. If you dare make this public, I'll finish you. Your reputation will be ruined. Who would want you then?" His words were identical to what he'd said the last time he drove me out the door. But I was no longer that foolish girl who treated reputation like life itself. "You don't need to worry about my reputation. I said, smiling ever brighter against his threats. I'd like to see how your superiors at the regiment react if they learn you've been committing bigamy, forging army seals and marriage certificates, and deceiving a fellow woman. Then don't speak of your future. Whether you even get to keep that uniform will be at stake. Jason's skin turned the sick color of liver. He knew I'd found his fatal weakness. He clenched his fists so tight the veins on the backs of his hands stood out as if he might lunge and hit me. But I didn't give him the chance. I picked up both the fake and the real marriage certificates from the table and turned to leave, leaving him only my resolute back in one sentence. Jason Lee, from today we are cut off. Mind your new wife and your family's mess. And don't bother me again. If you do, next time these 2 papers will be on your regiment's political officer's desk. Stepping out of the house, the August 5th sunlight stung my eyes. I breathed out as if expelling all the grievances and hatred of my last life. The sky was so blue, the clouds so white. There was still time to put things right. Back in my single dorm at the textile mill, I locked the door and slid down until my back hit it, my body finally giving way with a tremor. Only then did the fear creep in. My hardness and composure in front of Jason had nearly exhausted me. But I knew I'd done the right thing. With a selfish coward like Jason, retreat in tears would only make him worse. Only by being more ruthless than him could I make him afraid. I looked down at the 2 marriage certificates in my hands. One of the certificates had once opened the door to my 10-year nightmare. The other was now the weapon that could change my fate. I carefully tucked the real marriage certificate away. As for the fake one, I lit a match and watched as it burned to ashes in a small metal basin. From this day forward, I, Emily Lee, would live for myself. The next morning I went to work as usual. As expected, gossip was already spreading through the factory. Did you hear? Emily's soldier fiancé dumped her. No way. Really? Yeah. Didn't she always brag about becoming a military wife? Said he'd marry her after his promotion. Who knows? Maybe he found someone better in the army. Well, look at her situation. She's pretty sure, but she's just the daughter of a regular factory worker. How can she compare to some officer's daughter? She's really lost face this time. Quit her stable job, and now her fiancé ran off. What's she going to do now? The chatter buzzed around me like flies. In my previous life I would have buried my face in shame, too humiliated to show myself. But now I only found it ridiculous. I hadn't quit my job. I was still working just fine. As for men, that pit of fire, whoever wanted to jump into it could go right ahead. The workshop supervisor, Miss Jang, pulled me aside, concern written all over her face. Emily, did something happen between you and Jason? Yesterday you said you were going to quit and move back to his hometown with him. Miss Jang had always been kind and looked out for me. I didn't want her to worry, so I half-truthfully replied, Miss Jen, we broke up. His family situation is too complicated. I couldn't handle it, so I decided to end it. She froze for a moment, then sighed. Just as well. I've heard things about his family. His father's paralyzed. His mother's blind. Marrying into that family would have been like jumping into a fire pit. You're still young, Emily, and you're hardworking and pretty. You'll definitely find someone better. I gave her a grateful smile. Thank you, Miss Jang. I know. But of course things didn't end that easily. Jason Lee didn't dare confront me again. But he started pressuring me from behind the scenes. A few days later, my parents showed up at my dorm, both of them wearing grim expressions. Emily Lee, what on earth is going on with you? My mother demanded the moment she stepped inside. Jason's such a good man. How could you just break up with him like that? My father followed close behind, his face filled with disapproval. The neighbors are all talking, he said. They're saying you got dumped. You're a woman. Don't you care about your reputation? My heart sank. I knew immediately Jason was behind this. Too much of a coward to threaten me directly. He was trying to drive a wedge between me and my family, using my parents to pressure me into submission. He knew me too well. In my past life, it was exactly because I'd feared my parents being ridiculed that I'd kept compromising, giving in again and again until my life was completely ruined. Mom, Dad, sit down and have some water first, I said, forcing myself to stay calm as I poured them each a glass. This isn't what you think. Then I told them everything. How Jason was already married to another woman. yet still tried to trick me into quitting my job and returning to his village to act as a servant. To make them believe me, I pulled out the real marriage certificate. This is his marriage certificate with that woman, Grace. It's absolutely real. He came to me with a fake one, trying to fool me into taking care of his parents so he and his new wife could live comfortably in the city. Tell me, how could I ever marry someone like that? My parents stared at the paper, their eyes wide, utterly stunned by the black and white proof before them. What a beast! My father trembled with anger, slamming his palm down on the table. How dare he do this? My mother's eyes burned with fury. My God, you never know people's hearts just by their faces. Our Emily treated him so well, and he schemed against us. No, this can't be let slide. We have to go to his commander and report him. Seeing my parents so riled warmed my chest and pricked my eyes. In my last life I'd been too ashamed and afraid to tell them anything, letting them suffer years of gossip and scorn. In this life I'd finally made the right choice. Mom, Dad, don't get too excited. I soothed, pouring them each a glass of water to calm them. I'll handle this. Just trust me and don't listen to the rumors out there. Jason still didn't dare openly threaten me. He feared I'd take the matter to the army. With my family's support, the last sliver of doubt inside me vanished. I would not only keep working, I would live better than anyone else. By chance, news about the college entrance exams being reinstated had begun to circulate. In my last life I'd been trapped in that mountain village and missed the best chance to change my fate. This time I wouldn't let it pass. I dragged out my long-forgotten high school textbooks, and after work every day, I fought for every spare minute to study. The looks people gave me were full of pity and contempt. They assumed I'd taken to studying because some man dumped me and I'd been shaken. I didn't bother to explain. I poured all my energy into learning. Just when I thought Jason would give up, a new trouble came knocking. That day after work, a thin middle-aged woman blocked me under the dorm building and immediately grabbed my arm, wailing and carrying on. "Daughter, are you Emily Lee? I'm Jason's mother. Don't you dare abandon our Jason." I frowned. This was Jason's mother. She pretended to be blind, but her heart was sharper than anyone's. In my last life she had tormented me plenty. How could you not take care of Jason? Our family is going to starve. His father is bedridden, and my eyes don't see well. I can't manage both inside and outside the house without you. She cried, pounding her chest so hard that people gathered around. Jason has done so well in the army. If you become a soldier's wife, your face will shine. How can you sulk over a little thing? Come home with us. Our whole family is waiting for you. Her theatrics drew an audience of nosy neighbors who began pointing and whispering. Oh, that's the soldier's girl. She actually came to the dorm. Looks like Emily doesn't know any better. Causing trouble. She gave up being a soldier's wife. What a shame. Watching her clumsy performance made my stomach turn. Using public pressure to coerce me. Those tricks wouldn't work on me this time. I coldly pushed her hand away. My voice was low but clear enough for everyone to hear. Ma'am, you've come to the wrong person. Your daughter-in-law is Grace, not Emily. Your marriage certificate clearly says so. You should go ask her to care for your family, not come here to make a scene at a stranger. Her crying stopped mid-sob, and a flicker of panic passed over her cloudy eyes. What are you saying? We've always recognized you as... She stammered. I produced the photocopy of the certificate I'd made in advance at the coffee shop, just in case, and held it up for everyone to see. Everyone looked clearly. This is Jason Lee's marriage certificate. The bride is Grace. They registered it in their hometown 2 weeks ago. His son is already married, yet he comes here to my ex-fiancée and asks her to serve his parents. Does that make any sense? The onlookers erupted. What? Jason Lee is married? Then why did he come to Emily? Isn't that fraud? My God, asking his ex-fiancée to care for his parents. What kind of man is that? The public opinion flipped in an instant. No one expected I'd have proof. Jason's face went a bruised purple as he pointed at me, stammering, unable to get out a coherent word. I folded the photocopy back up and said coldly, Ma'am, if you keep making a scene here and trying to ruin my name, I'll take this paper straight to the police. Your son could be charged with bigamy and fraud. Think carefully. Jason's mother was intimidated into silence, trembling and unable to speak. Just then, a clear authoritative voice came from the edge of the crowd. "What's going on here?" People automatically opened a path as a man in uniform walked in. He stood tall. The two stripes and a star on his shoulder boards gleamed in the sunlight. He was larger and more imposing than Jason Lee, his features sharp, his eyes hawk-like, calmly commanding respect without raising his voice. Something stirred in me. I knew him. He was Commander Gu from the Military District Compound's office, 2 ranks above Jason. In my previous life, he was the husband other army wives envied. Accomplished, upright, and attentive to his wife. I had only seen him a few times at military family gatherings, but he left a deep impression. I hadn't expected to meet him here. Jason's mother scrambled forward and clung to Commander Gu's leg, nearly falling in her rush. Chief, please help us. This woman is bullying our poor family and ruining Jason's reputation." Commander Gu frowned, obviously displeased at being yanked like that. He glanced down at Jason's mother on the ground, then turned his gaze to me with an appraising look. "You are Emily Lee?" he asked. I nodded. "Is what she says true?" I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I handed him the photocopy I had prepared earlier at the coffee shop just in case. "This is Jason Lee's marriage certificate. I said he's already married to someone else, yet he tried to deceive me into quitting my job and returning to his hometown to take care of his parents. Today, his mother came to my workplace to make a scene, trying to force me to comply. Everything I've said is true. Chief, please investigate." My voice was neither humble nor loud, just clear and steady. Commander Gu skimmed the photocopy and his brows knitted tighter. His gaze flicked between the document and Jason's mother, growing colder. As an officer, he could tell at a glance whether the document was genuine and how serious the situation was. He didn't bother to indulge Jason's mother's lies while she still clung to hope. He handed the copy back to me and spoke in a solemn tone. "The unit will investigate this matter. If the situation is confirmed, you'll have our full investigation," Commander Gu said firmly. "Rest assured, the People's Army will never tolerate a corrupt soldier." Then he turned slightly and signaled to the guard behind him. "Take her back to the base. Notify Jason Lee to report immediately. I'll question him myself." The guard stepped forward at once, lifting Jason's mother off the ground as she kicked and screamed. And just like that, the commotion ended. The neighbors' expressions toward me had completely changed from pity and gossip to respect and even awe. Watching Commander Gu and his team leave, I felt a rush of mixed emotions. I hadn't expected things to reach the military's upper ranks, but it was for the best. With an upright officer like Commander Gu taking charge, Jason Lee's good days were truly over. From that day forward, my life finally returned to peace. Jason and his scheming mother never appeared again. Later, Miss Zhang told me that Jason Lee's promotion order had been revoked. He was discharged from the army and ordered to return to his hometown with his real wife, Grace, and his mother. It was said that the military district leadership was furious, especially since Commander Gu personally oversaw the investigation and demanded strict punishment. Jason's future was ruined and his disgrace became infamous across the entire military district. A living example of what not to be. As for Grace, her dream of becoming a city woman shattered. She had no choice but to follow Jason back to that poor mountain village, facing a paralyzed father-in-law and a blind mother-in-law. I didn't know whether she regretted it or not, but I knew one thing. That was the fate they had planned for me in my previous life. Now the tables had turned, and they were finally tasting the bitter fruit of their own actions. When I heard the news, I was bent over a set of math practice problems. I only let out a quiet laugh before lowering my head again to keep working. For me, those people and those events were already in the past. My future lay in a wider world. In the winter of 1977, I walked into the first college entrance exam since it had been reinstated. When my admission letter arrived, the entire textile factory was in an uproar. In those days, being accepted to a university meant a golden future, a leap into a new life. Those who once looked down on me or mocked me now stared with envy and admiration, tripping over themselves to get close. My parents, proud beyond words, walked with their heads held high, practically glowing with joy. Before leaving for college, I made a special trip to the military compound. I wanted to thank Commander Gu in person. If it hadn't been for his fair and decisive handling, Jason's family might still have been harassing me. The guard led me into his office. He was sitting behind his desk reading a file. Afternoon sunlight streamed through the window, coating his strong profile in a soft golden glow. Hearing the sound of my footsteps, he looked up. When he saw it was me, a flicker of surprise crossed his eyes before he smiled faintly. "It's you, Comrade Emily Lee," he said. "What brings you here?" I stood a little stiffly in front of his desk. "Commander Gu, I came to thank you for helping me back then and for resolving that trouble." He waved a hand lightly, motioning for me to sit. "No need to thank me. I only did my duty. The army has its rules. We can't allow an honest comrade to suffer injustice." His voice was low and steady, somehow soothing. "I heard you were admitted to university," he said suddenly. I blinked in surprise, then nodded. "Yes, I got into Capital University." He smiled, his expression one of quiet approval. "That's quite an achievement." The admiration in his eyes was plain to see, and he didn't try to hide it. "At that time," he said, "everyone thought you had been crushed by the whole ordeal, but you were the only one who didn't give up. You're strong and smart too." Being praised so directly made my cheeks warm. "I just didn't want to accept fate," I murmured. We talked for a long time about my studies, his work, and everything in between. I realized he wasn't the rigid, overly serious officer I had imagined. He was knowledgeable, insightful, and easy to talk to. I genuinely enjoyed every minute of our conversation. When it was time to leave, he suddenly asked, "So, what are your plans for the future?" I thought seriously for a moment before answering. "To study hard, graduate, find a good job, and live a life that depends on no one but myself." He looked at me intently, his dark eyes glimmering as though stars had lit up inside them. "I'll be watching," he said quietly, then added after a pause, "and if you ever run into trouble, you can come find me." That promise touched me more deeply than any sweet words ever could. College life was new and full. I was like a dry sponge, soaking up knowledge and life's richness as fast as I could. Commander Gu and I kept in touch through letters. We wrote about school, work, current events, and our hopes for the future. His letters were always brief, written in bold, decisive strokes, but every line carried warmth, care, and encouragement. Through those letters, I came to know more about him. He came from a family of soldiers and had joined the army at a young age. With his own merit and accomplishments, he had steadily risen through the ranks. He had never married, never even dated. His entire youth devoted to the army. During my sophomore summer break, he was promoted again, this time to regimental commander. When I returned home, he came to the train station to pick me up in a jeep, drawing curious stares from everyone around. "Commander Gu, you didn't have to trouble yourself," I said, feeling a little embarrassed. He took the luggage easily from my hands and smiled. "It's no trouble. It's on my way. And besides, you can call me by my name, just Gu." His smile under the sunlight was dazzling. That summer, he often found excuses to stop by, always saying it was on his way. Sometimes he brought fruit from the army, sweet and fresh from the north. Other times he took me to see a new movie playing in town. Before I knew it, the atmosphere between us had shifted. Subtle, quiet, but undeniable. The neighbors started gossiping again, though this time the tone had changed from pity to astonishment and envy. "Oh my God, isn't that Commander Gu? I heard he's the youngest regimental commander in the district. His future's limitless. How did he end up falling for Emily Lee? Don't you know? He was the one who helped her deal with that scumbag ex-fiancé. Hero saves the damsel. Of course they'd fall for each other. Emily's really lucky. She dumped a platoon leader and landed a regimental commander. And she's a college student too. She'll be Mrs. Gu before long." I only smiled at their chatter. They didn't understand. What drew me to Gwen wasn't his rank or position, but his integrity, his kindness, and the respect and admiration he showed me. One day, near the end of summer break, he asked me to take a walk with him in the park. We strolled side by side down a shaded path, neither of us speaking. Then suddenly he stopped and turned to me. "Emily," he said, his tone unusually serious, even a little nervous, something I had never seen from him before. "I want to be with you," he said, his deep voice steady but edged with nervousness. Not casually. I want to date you with marriage in mind. His tall figure blocked the sunlight in front of me, casting a shadow that seemed to hold the whole world still. My heart skipped a beat. I looked up into his eyes, so deep, so clear, and saw my own reflection shining inside them. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I asked softly, "Gwen, if I weren't a college student, if I didn't have all that I have now, would you still choose me?" He froze for a moment, then smiled. It was a smile mixed with helplessness and warmth. "Silly girl," he murmured, brushing a strand of hair away from my forehead with a gentle hand. "I admired you back when you were still a textile worker. When everyone misunderstood you, yet you still dared to fight back. I liked you when you buried yourself in books and worked tirelessly for your future. Your strength, your intelligence, your resilience, those are what make you truly precious. Being a college student just adds to your light. But it's not why I chose you." He paused, his eyes unwavering. "Emily, I'm not Jason Lee. What I want is a partner who can walk beside me. Someone who shares my language, my ideals, my dreams, not a woman confined to a kitchen, cooking and washing clothes. I respect every choice you make and support your pursuit of a career. If you let me, I want to be the one who stands firmly behind you." His words flowed through me like a wave of warmth, melting every scar left from my previous life. All the pain and humiliation I once carried were healed in that single moment. My throat tightened and tears slid down my cheeks, not from sadness but from joy and gratitude. I nodded hard, my voice trembling. "I will." Relief flooded his face, and he let out a quiet breath before pulling me into his arms. His embrace was broad and steady, filled with the kind of warmth that made the world outside fade away. Resting against his chest, listening to the strong, steady rhythm of his heartbeat, I felt peace like I'd never known before. In this new life, I had not only escaped a nightmare, I had found someone truly worthy of my heart. It was perfect. Gwen and I married the year I graduated from college. The ceremony was simple yet dignified. His fellow officers, my classmates, and my professors all came to celebrate, their faces glowing with genuine joy. My parents couldn't stop smiling. They stood tall and proud before everyone. After the wedding, I was assigned to an important government office thanks to my excellent academic record. Gwen kept every promise he'd made. He supported my career wholeheartedly, and never once asked me to sacrifice it for the sake of our home. We supported each other, grew together, and became the kind of couple everyone admired. Years later, I happened to hear about Jason Lee and his family from a fellow villager. After being expelled from the army, Jason returned to the village and completely fell apart. Grace, unable to bear the endless days of caring for two elderly parents and a useless husband, took the last of their money after an argument and ran away. Jason tried to find her but failed. His mother, heartbroken and furious that her daughter-in-law had fled and her son had become a disgrace, fell ill and soon passed away. Only Jason and his paralyzed father were left living lives worse than death. Reduced to the village's biggest joke, pitiful and ruined. When I heard the news, I was walking hand in hand with Gwen under the sunset. My heart felt utterly calm. No hatred, no satisfaction, no sense of revenge. Those people no longer deserved even a single thought from me. I turned to look at the man beside me. He was gazing back at me gently, his eyes filled with quiet affection, love, and tenderness. And under the sunlight, our shadows stretched long across the ground. In this life, I had rewritten my destiny with my own hands. I now had a family who loved me, a husband who respected me, and a career I was proud to fight for. This was what a truly beautiful life was meant to be.